So what you're looking at here is a fan project. But it's not just any fan project. Get this. It is a 2,620-page document all dedicated to a single Pokémon. But here's the twist. This isn't some loving tribute. Oh, no. It's a complete, and I mean total, deconstruction of one of the most beloved characters in the entire franchise.
In this one sentence, this is pretty much our guide for this whole journey. The subject is Eevee. You know, Eevee, the icon of cute, fluffy potential. Well, the author of this massive project, he sees things a little differently. This quote right here is our entry point into a very, very deep rabbit hole. And this is really the core of the whole thing. On one hand, you have the Eevee we all know and love from Nintendo, a symbol of choice, friendship, all that good stuff. And on the other hand, you have this reinvention from an author who calls himself Walter R. His Eevee is a brutal, aggressive, male-only biological weapon that is also infertile and cannot evolve. It's a complete 180, which just begs the question, who would do this and why?
To understand this bizarre creation, we really have to try and understand the creator. Walter R. is his online pen name, and he describes himself as a teenager and a Type 1 Sonic fan. Now, what that means is that he prefers the darker, edgier parts of that franchise. And his passions, and maybe more importantly, his frustrations, are really the engine for this whole project.
The project has this grand name, the Walter R. Official Character Reinvention Collection. At its heart, it's a massive fan fiction project where he takes these iconic characters from huge franchises, we're talking Nintendo, Sega, Disney, and just rebuilds them from the ground up to fit his own, very specific vision of the world.
And the motivation for all this seems to come from some incredibly strong personal biases. A huge inspiration for reinventing Eevee was actually the author's intense hatred for Super Mario. And why? Apparently, in part because he finds the profession of plumbing to be, and I quote, disgusting. You can't make this stuff up.
And this image pretty much says it all. His love for Sonic the Hedgehog, especially for darker characters like Shadow, is literally the blueprint for his new Eevee. He wants to inject that same kind of complexity, that aggression, that anti-hero vibe into a character that he feels is just way too one-dimensionally cute. So, when you boil it all down, this whole thing is a rebellion. Walter R. sees the official, family-friendly versions of these characters, what he calls brand mandates, as a form of creative censorship. So this entire 2,000-plus page document is his unfiltered, uncensored response.
So with all that background on the why, let's actually dig into the what. What has this Eevee become? We're about to move from the motivation to the creation, and the details are, well, they're shockingly meticulous.
Okay, let's try to break this down. This Eevee is a dark/fighting type. He is 100% male. He cannot evolve because he's infertile. But the origin story, that's where this thing goes completely off the rails. He was engineered on a space colony to cure AIDS. You heard that right. And oh yeah, in this world, he wields guns and rides a motorcycle. It's a pretty complete departure from anything you'd find in the Pokédex.
And the lore just goes incredibly deep. Spelling out this Eevee's impact on society, he's called the Satan to Pikachu's Jesus. His actions cause global economic instability. Therapists in the Kalos region flat out refuse to treat him. His name literally makes preschoolers scream. And on top of all that, he also suffers from PTSD and is sensitive to sunlight. I mean, the level of detail is just staggering.
And just to give you a real sense of that detail, just look at this number. 1,935,360. Any idea what that is? According to the document, that is the official number of annual incidents of anger caused by this Eevee's mere presence in the world. It's fanatically specific.
Now, as you can probably imagine, a project this extreme did not go unnoticed. The reaction from the wider Pokémon fan community was swift and it was deeply polarized. It basically kicked off a fandom civil war.
One of the biggest points of conflict, cited by those the author calls his haters, is the project's perceived misogyny. They point to the fact that the lore treats any feminine versions of Eevee like peasants, the lowest possible rank, while elevating his masculine version to the status of a pharaoh.
Another huge criticism was just the overall tone. A lot of fans feel that turning Pokémon into something that feels like a gritty adult swim show, complete with cussing and violence, just fundamentally violates the spirit of the franchise. For many, it felt like a betrayal of what makes Pokémon, Pokémon. This controversial style even got a name from the community, the Striker's Effect. They coined the term to describe the project's aggressive, high-contrast, almost grimy art style. It's an aesthetic that is all about confrontation, not cuteness. It's designed to make you a little uncomfortable.
And the controversy just keeps evolving. In a recent update, the author fired back at critics who kept calling his male-only Eevee female. He labeled this gender racism, arguing that it's a deliberate attempt to defame his character by forcing a feminine identity onto a being he's specifically designed to be exclusively masculine.
So, after over 2,600 pages of lore, controversy, and creative terminology, what are we left with? Let's try to zoom out and figure out what a project like this really says about fandom and creativity today.
And this, right here, really illustrates the central tension. Most fan fiction is transformative. It builds on and honors the original stuff. This project, though, feels more like an authorial rejection. It doesn't build on Eevee's lore, it bulldozes it and builds something completely new and contradictory. It subverts the character's very core, and then it has to actively defend itself against the community.
Which leaves us with this final, crucial question, one that the author himself actually poses in his defense. Is this a brave, new form of storytelling, where a passionate artist reclaims a character from corporate sanitization? Or is it, as he calls it, an extinction by stereotype, an attempt to erase a beloved character by trapping them in a new, equally restrictive identity? That, right there, is the question at the very heart of the Eevee bias.